Today, we're going to look at the Southern Colonies. The Southern Colonies were made up of Virginia, Maryland, the Carolinas, and Georgia. The 13 British colonies were divided into 3 colonial regions. The Southern Colonies were made up of Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Now, if you look at this map, you see the area that is the Southern Colonies, which is this area right here. Maryland is the colony furthest north. Then you have Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and then the colony that's farthest south is Georgia. The Southern Colonies had things in common which caused them to be grouped together. The 2 primary factors in this was their climates and their economies. So when you look at the Southern Colonies, which is this area right here, the 2 things that tied them together were their climates and their economies. Climate is the weather conditions prevailing in an area over a long period of time. The climate in the Southern Colonies was warm, which allowed for a long growing season. This area also received plentiful, which means a lot, of rainfall. This region also had very fertile soil. Now the word fertile means very good soil. Because of these factors, the Southern Colonies grew cash crops such as tobacco, rice, indigo, which is a plant that's used to make blue dye, and then cotton. The growing of these cash crops led to the Southern Colonies to become very dependent on slaves. Here you see a picture of slaves working a rice field. The first of these colonies was Virginia. It grew from the first permanent English colony of Jamestown, which was founded in 1607. Virginia exported tobacco to England. This became the colony's first cash crop. The word export means goods going out of a country. So if you look at this illustration right here, you see tobacco grown in Virginia being exported or sent out to the country of England. A significant event occurred in 1619 when the Virginia House of Burgesses was created. It was the first representative assembly in the colonies. A representative government is one in which citizens elect people to represent them and to look out for their interests. So if you look at this picture, here are the representatives in the Virginia House of Burgesses, and then here are the people who put them there. When citizens elect representatives, they are giving those representatives permission to make decisions for them. Now, if you look at this political cartoon, you'll see an example of this. It says, your vote is your voice. So our representatives are the voice of the people. The colony of Maryland was founded in 1634. It was founded by Lord Baltimore as a refuge, which is a place of safety, for English Catholics escaping religious persecution. Remember, the word persecution means punishment. In 1649, the Maryland Religious Toleration Act was passed. This law allowed other religions based on Christianity into the colony. The word toleration means the accepting of others' beliefs, especially if they differ from your own beliefs. So in Maryland, other religions based in Christianity was accepted into the colony. In 1663, the colony of Carolina was founded. The colony eventually split into 2 separate colonies. So if you look at this illustration, this is the original colony of Carolina, and it eventually split up into the colonies of North Carolina and South Carolina. In 1712, North Carolina formed made up of poor farmers who had come from Virginia. Tobacco was the major cash crop grown in the colony. In 1719, South Carolina formed and was made up of mostly wealthy planters. Rice and indigo were its major cash crops. The port of Charleston became a major city, and if you look down here at the map, here's where Charleston is located and became a major seaport in the South. The colony of Georgia was founded in 1732 by James Oglethorpe. It became a place for English debtors, which are people who owed money, and just as important, a buffer, which is protection against Spanish Florida. So in England at that time, if you owed money, you were thrown into debtor prison. These prisons soon became overcrowded, and the English government decided to send these guys to Georgia. So that was one of the reasons why Georgia was started. A second reason was that Spanish controlled Florida. The colony of South Carolina was very, very important to England, and they were worried about the Spanish being so close to this colony, and so Georgia was formed to help protect South Carolina from the Spanish. To review, the Southern Colonies were made up of Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And here, if you look at them, we'll review them on the map again. Here's Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Their economies were based on agriculture and the growing of cash crops such as tobacco, rice, indigo, and cotton. The growing of these cash crops led to the importation of slaves. As the colonies developed, all of the southern colonies became dependent on agriculture and slavery. And just a quick review, this was how slaves got to the colonies, through triangular trade. The colonies would send raw materials to England. England would take manufactured goods and send them down to Africa, and then they would take slaves from Africa and then send them back to North America.